This is Leonard Cohen reading some poems from my book, Let Us Compare Mythologies. For Wilf and His House. When young, the Christians told me how we pinned Jesus like a lovely butterfly against the wood, and I wept beside paintings of Calvary at velvet wounds and delicate twisted feet. But he could not hang softly long, your fighters so proud with bugles, bending flowers with their silver stain. And when I faced the ark for counting, trembling underneath the burning oil, the meadow of running flesh turned sour, and I kissed away my gentle teachers, warned my younger brothers. Among the young and turning great of the large nations, innocent of the spiked wish and the bright crusade, there I could sing my heathen tears between the somersaults and chestnut battles, love the distant saint who fed his arm to flies, mourn the crushed ant, and despise the reason of the heel. Raging and weeping are left on the early road. Now each in his holy hill, the glittering and hurting days are almost done. Then let us compare mythologies. I have learned my elaborate lie of soaring crosses and poisoned thorns, and how my fathers nailed him like a bat against a barn to greet the autumn and late hungry ravens as a hollow yellow sign. Beside the shepherd. Beside the shepherd dreams the beast of laying down with lions. The youth puts away his singing reed and strokes the consecrated flesh. Glory, glory, shouts the grass, shouts the brick, as from the cliff the gorgeous fallen sun rolls slowly on the promised city. Naked running through the mansion, the boy with news of the Messiah forgets the message for his father, enjoying the marble against his feet. Well, finally it has happened, imagined someone in another house, staring one more minute out his window before waking up his wife. Poem. I heard of a man who says words so beautifully that if he only speaks their name, women give themselves to him. If I am dumb beside your body, while silence blossoms like tumors on our lips, it is because I hear a man climb stairs and clear his throat outside our door. Lovers. During the first pogrom they met behind the ruins of their homes, sweet merchants trading, her love for a history full of poems. And at the hot ovens they cunningly managed a brief kiss before the soldier came to knock out her golden teeth. And in the furnace itself, as the flames flamed higher, he tried to kiss her burning breasts as she burned in the fire. Later he often wondered, was their barter completed, while men around him plundered and knew he had been cheated. The sparrows. Catching winter in their carved nostrils, the traitor birds have deserted us, leaving only the dullest brown sparrows for spring negotiations. I told you we were fools to have them in our games, but you replied, they are only wind-up birds who strut on scarlet feet so hopelessly far from our curled fingers. I had moved to warn you, but you only adjusted your hair and ventured, their wings are made of glass and gold, and we are fortunate not to hear them splintering against the sun. Now the hollow nests sit like tumors or petrified blossoms between the wire branches, And you, an innocent scientist, question me on these brown sparrows, whether we should plant our yards with breadcrumbs or mark them with the black, persistent crows whom we hate and stone. But what shall I tell you of migrations, when in this empty sky the precise ghosts of departed summer birds still trace old signs, or of desperate flights, when the dimmest flutter of a colored wing excites all our favorite streets to delight in imaginary spring? Warning. If your neighbor disappears, oh, if your neighbor disappears, the quiet man who raked his lawn, the girl who always took the sun, never mention it to your wife. Never say at dinner time, "Whatever happened to that man who used to rake his lawn?" Never say to your daughter as you're walking home from church, "Funny thing about that girl, I haven't seen her for a month." And if your son says to you, "Nobody lives next door, they've all gone away," send him to bed with no supper, because it can spread, and one fine evening coming home, your wife and daughter and son, they'll have caught the idea and will be gone. Les vieux. Northeastern lunch with rotting noses and tweed caps, huddling in thick coats and mumbling confidential songs to ancient friends, the public men of Montreal, and in parks with strange children who listen to sad lies in exchange for whistles carved from wet maple branches, in Phillips Square on newspaper-covered benches, unaware of St. Catherine Street or gray and green pigeons inquiring between their boots. Public men, letters of references crumbling in wallets, speaking all the languages of Montreal. Elegy. Do not look for him in brittle mountain streams. They are too cold for any god. And do not examine the angry rivers for shreds of his soft body, or turn the shore stones for his blood. But in the warm, salt ocean, he is descending through cliffs of slow green water, and the hovering colored fish kiss his snow-bruised body and build their secret nests in his fluttering winding sheet. It was written to a girl to whom I'd given too many poems, and she asked me to refrain. So I wrote her this poem. And it's a serious poem, so don't cackle just because I told you I need the money. You tell me that silence is nearer to peace than poems. But if for my gift I brought you silence, for I know silence, you would say, "This is not silence, this is another poem," and you would hand it back to me.
Well, Leonard Cohen, you've just hit the limelight, if that's the kind of light they have here. I wonder how a poet who is meant to be a recluse in his room feels about being a nightclub celebrity.
Well, this isn't quite being a nightclub celebrity, but I think that we're doing, what we're really doing is bringing poetry where it belongs, back
To the people.
Not to the people, no, to the hipsters, to the boozers, no, really, back to music and back to an informality, away from the classroom.
In my journey, I know I am somewhere beyond the traveling pack of poets. I will remain here until I am sure what I am leaving. During the day I laugh, and during the night I sleep. My favorite cooks prepare my meals, my body cleans and repairs itself, and all my work goes well. His blood on my arm is warm as a bird. His heart in my hand is heavy as lead. His eyes through my eyes shine brighter than love. Oh, send out the raven ahead of the dove. His life in my mouth is less than a man. His death on my breast is harder than stone. His eyes through my eyes shine brighter than love. Oh, send out the raven ahead of the dove. Oh, send out the raven ahead of the dove. Oh, sing from your chains where you're chained in a cave. Your eyes through my eyes shine brighter than love. Your blood in my ballad collapses the grave. Oh, break from your branches a green branch of love after the raven has died for the dove. A kite is a victim you are sure of. You love it because it pulls gentle enough to call you master, strong enough to call you fool, because it lives like a desperate trained falcon in the high, sweet air, and you can always haul it down to tame it in your drawer. A kite is a contract of glory that must be made with the sun. So you make friends with the field, the river, and the wind. Then you pray the whole cold night before under the traveling, cordless moon to make you worthy and lyric and pure. Here is a movie filled with the bodies of his family. His father aims the camera at his uncles, tall and serious, boutonnieres in their dark lapels, who walk too close and enter into blurdom. Now the boy and his cousins fight small, gentlemanly battles. The girls curtsy. All the children are invited to leap one at a time across the flagstone path. A battalion of wives is squeezed abreast, is decimated by the edge of the screen. His mother is one of the first to go. The park nourished all the sleepers in the surrounding houses. It was the green heart. It gave the children dangerous bushes and heroic landscapes so they could imagine bravery. It gave the nurses and maids winding walks so they could imagine beauty. He wanted to know everything about her. Was she allowed to listen to the shadow? Could she get gangbusters? Had she ever been called a dirty Jew? They fell silent, and the nurses and their blonde babies reasserted their control of the universe. They squeezed hands, kissed once when the light was low enough, coming golden through the prickly bushes. Then they walked slowly home, not holding hands, but bumping against each other. Breveman sat at the table, trying to understand why he wasn't hungry. His mother extolled the lamb chops. I am sorry that the rich man must go and his house become a hospital. I loved his wine, his contemptuous servants, his 10-year-old ceremonies. I loved his car, which he wore like a snail shell everywhere, and I loved his wife, the hours she put into her skin, the milk, the lust, the industries that served her complexion. I loved his son, who looked British, but had American ambitions, and let the word aristocrat comfort him like a reprieve while Kennedy reigned. I loved the rich man. I hate to see his season ticket for the opera fall into a pool for opera lovers. Just beyond the green rose the large stone houses of Westmount Avenue. In them, the baseball players were growing their bodies with sleep, resting their voices. He imagined that he could see them dimly through the walls of the upper stories, or rather the sheets they were wrapped in, floating row upon row over the street, like a colony of cocoons in a moonlit tree. The young men of his age, Christian and blonde, dreaming of Jewish sex and bank careers. Beneath my hands, your small breasts are the upturned bellies of breathing fallen sparrows. Wherever you move, I hear the sounds of closing wings, of falling wings. I am speechless because you have fallen beside me, because your eyelashes are the spines of tiny, fragile animals. I dread the time when your mouth begins to call me hunter. Hold me, hard light, soft light, hold me. Moonlight in your mountains, fold me. Sunlight in your tall waves, scald me. Iron light in your wires, shield me. Death light in your darkness, wield me. In burlap bags the bankers sow me. In countries far the merchants sell me. In icy caves the princes throw me. In golden rooms the doctors geld me. In battlefields the hunters rule me. I will starve till prophets find me. I will bleed till angels bind me. Still I sing till churches blind me. Still I love till cogwheels wind me. For you, I will be a ghetto Jew and dance and put white stockings on my twisted limbs and poison wells across the town. For you, I will be a bankered Jew and bring to ruin a proud old hunting king and end his line. For you, I will be a Broadway Jew and cry in theaters for my mother and sell bargain goods beneath the counter. For you, I will be a Dachau Jew and lie down in lime with twisted limbs and bloated pain no mind can understand. I am with the hunters, hungry and shrewd, and I am with the hunted, quick and soft and nude. From a hill I watched the apple blossoms breathe the silver out of the night, like fish eating the spheres of air out of the river. Under hard lights, with doctors' instruments, you were at work in the bathrooms of the city, changing the law. The spike hunts constant as a compass. The stony path coiled around me and bound me to the night. A boat hunted the edge of the sea under a hissing light. Something soft involved the net and bled around a spear. Come, my brothers, let us govern Canada. Let us find our serious heads. Let us dump asbestos on the White House. Let us make the French talk English, not only here but everywhere. Let us torture the Senate individually until they confess. Let us purge the new party. Let us encourage the dark races so they'll be lenient when they take over. Let us make the CBC talk English. Let us all lean in one direction and float down to the coast of Florida. Let us have 2 governor generals at the same time. Let us have another official language. Let us determine what it will be. Let us give a Canada Council Fellowship to the most original suggestion. Let us teach sex in the home to parents. Let us threaten to join the USA and pull out at the last moment. My brothers, come. Our serious heads are waiting for us somewhere, like Gladstone bags abandoned after a coup d'etat. Let us put them on very quickly. Let us maintain a stony silence on the St. Lawrence Seaway. I would like to remind the management that the drinks are watered, and the hat check girl has syphilis, and the band is composed of former SS monsters, However, since it is New Year's Eve and I have lip cancer, I will place my paper hat on my concussion and dance.
Lovers of my beloved, watch how my words put on her lips like clothes, how they wear her body like a rare shawl. Fruit is pyramided on the windowsill, songs flutter against the disappearing wall. The sky of the city is washed in the fire of Lebanese cedar and gold. In smoky filigree cages, the apes and peacocks fret. Now the cages do not hold. In the burning street, man and animal perish in each other's arms. Peacocks drown around the melting throne. Is it the king who lies beside you listening? Is it Solomon or David or stuttering Charlemagne? Is that his crown in the suitcase beside your bed? When we meet again, you all in white, I smelling of orchards, when we meet, but now you awaken, and you are tired of this dream. Turn toward the sad-eyed man. He stayed by you all the night. You will have something to say to him. I once believed a single line in a Chinese poem could change forever how blossoms fell, and that the moon itself climbed on the grief of concise weeping men to journey over cups of wine. I thought invasions were begun for crows to pick at a skeleton, dynasties sown and spent to serve the language of a fine lament. I thought governors ended their lives as sweetly drunken monks, telling time by rain and candles, instructed by an insect's pilgrimage across the page. All this so one might send an exile's perfect letter to an ancient hometown friend. I chose a lonely country, broke from love, scorned the fraternity of war. I polished my tongue against the pumice moon, floated my soul in cherry wine, a perfume barge for lords of memory to languish on, to drink, to whisper out their store of strength, as if beyond the mist along the shore, their girls, their power still obeyed, like clocks wound for 1,000 years. I waited until my tongue was sore. Brown petals whined like fire around my poems. I aimed them at the stars, but like rainbows they were bent before they sawed the world in half. Who can trace the canyon paths cattle have carved out of time, wandering from meadowlands to feasts? Layer after layer of autumn leaves are swept away. Something forgets us perfectly. You have the lovers. They are nameless, their histories only for each other. And you have the room, the bed, and the windows. Pretend it is a ritual. Unfurl the bed, bury the lovers, blacken the windows. Let them live in that house for a generation or two. No one dares disturb them. Visitors in the corridor tiptoe past the long closed door. They listen for sounds, for a moan, for a song. Nothing is heard, not even breathing. You know they are not dead. You can feel the presence of their intense love. Your children grow up, they leave you. They have become soldiers and riders. Your mate dies after a life of service. Who knows you? Who remembers you? But in your house a ritual is in progress. It is not finished, it needs more people. One day the door is opened to the lover's chamber. The room has become a dense garden full of colors, smells, sounds you have never known. The bed is smooth as a wafer of sunlight In the midst of the garden it stands alone. In the bed the lovers slowly and deliberately and silently perform the act of love. Their eyes are closed as tightly as if heavy coins of flesh lay on them. Their lips are bruised with new and old bruises. Her hair and his beard are hopelessly tangled. When he puts his mouth against her shoulder, she is uncertain whether her shoulder has given or received the kiss. All her flesh is like a mouth. He carries his fingers along her waist and feels his own waist caressed. She holds him closer and his own arms tighten around her. She kisses the hand beside her mouth. It is his hand or her hand. It hardly matters. There are so many more kisses. You stand beside the bed, weeping with happiness. You carefully peel away the sheets from the slow-moving bodies. Your eyes are filled with tears. You barely make out the lovers. As you undress, you sing out, and your voice is magnificent because now you believe it is the first human voice heard in that room. The garments you let fall grow into vines. You climb into bed and recover the flesh. You close your eyes and allow them to be sewn shut. You create an embrace and fall into it. There is only one moment of pain or doubt as you wonder how many multitudes are lying beside your body, but a mouth kisses and a hand soothes the moment away.
What I'm doing here. I do not know if the world has lied. I have lied. I do not know if the world has conspired against love. I have conspired against love. The atmosphere of torture is no comfort. I have tortured. Even without the mushroom cloud, still I would have hated. Listen, I would have done the same things even if there were no death. I will not be held like a drunkard under the cold tap of facts. I refuse the universal alibi. Like an empty telephone booth, passed at night and remembered. Like mirrors in a movie palace lobby, consulted only on the way out. Like an nymphomaniac who binds 1,000 into strange brotherhood, I wait for each one of you to confess. You have the lovers. You have the lovers. They are nameless, their history is only for each other. And you have the room, the bed, and the windows. Pretend it is a ritual. Unfurl the bed, bury the lovers, blacken the windows. Let them live in that house for a generation or two. No one dares disturb them. Visitors in the corridor tiptoe past the long closed door. They listen for sounds, for a moan, for a song. Nothing is heard, not even breathing. You know they are not dead. You can feel the presence of their intense love. Your children grow up, they leave you. They have become soldiers and riders. Your mate dies after a life of service. Who knows you? Who remembers you? But in your house a ritual is in progress. It is not finished. It needs more people. One day the door is opened to the lover's chamber. The room has become a dense garden, full of colors, smells, sounds you have never known. The bed is smooth as a wafer of sunlight. In the midst of the garden it stands alone. In the bed the lovers, slowly and deliberately and silently, perform the act of love. Their eyes are closed as tightly as if heavy coins of flesh lay on them. Their lips are bruised with new and old bruises. Her hair and his beard are hopelessly tangled. When he puts his mouth against her shoulder, she is uncertain whether her shoulder has given or received the kiss. All her flesh is like a mouth. He carries his fingers along her waist and feels his own waist caressed. She holds him closer and his own arms tighten around her.
She kisses the hand beside her mouth. It is his hand or her hand. It hardly matters. There are so many more kisses. You stand beside the bed, weeping with happiness. You carefully peel away the sheets from the slow-moving bodies. Your eyes are filled with tears. You barely make out the lovers. As you undress, you sing out, and your voice is magnificent because now you believe it is the first human voice heard in that room. The garments you let fall grow into vines. You climb into bed and recover the flesh. You close your eyes and allow them to be sewn shut. You create an embrace and fall into it. There is only one moment of pain or doubt, as you wonder how many multitudes are lying beside your body, but a mouth kisses and a hand soothes the moment away. Now of sleeping. Under her grandmother's patchwork quilt, a calico bird's-eye view of crops and boundaries, naming dimly the districts of her body, sleeps my Annie like a perfect lady. Like ages of weightless snow on tiny oceans filled with light, her eyelids enclose deeply a shade tree of birthday candles, one for every morning until the now of sleeping. The small banner of blood, kept and flown by brother wind long after the pierced bird fell down, is like her red mouth among the squalls of pillow. Bearers of evil fancy, of dark intention and corrupting fashion, who come to rend the quilt, plough the eye, and ground the mouth, will contend with mighty Mother Goose and Farmer Brown and all good stories of invincible belief, which surround her sleep like the golden weather of a halo. Well-wishers and her true lover may stay to watch my Annie, sleeping like a perfect lady under her grandmother's patchwork quilt, but they must promise to whisper and to vanish by morning, all but her one true lover. Style. I don't believe the radio stations of Russia and America, but I like the music, and I like the solemn European voices announcing jazz. I don't believe opium or money, though they're hard to get and punished with long sentences. I don't believe love. In the midst of my slavery, I do not believe. I am a man sitting in a house on a treeless, argolic island. I will forget the grass of my mother's lawn. I know I will. I will forget the old telephone number, Fitzroy 7820. I will forget my style. I will have no style. I hear 1,000 miles of hungry static and the old clear water eating rocks. I hear the bells of mules eating. I hear the flowers eating the night under their folds. Now a rooster with a razor plants the hemophilia gash across the soft black sky, and now I know for certain I will forget my style. Perhaps a mind will open in this world. Perhaps a heart will catch rain. Nothing will heal and nothing will freeze, but perhaps a heart will catch rain. America will have no style. Russia will have no style. It is happening in the 28th year of my attention. I don't know what will become of the mules with their lady eyes, or the old clear water, or the giant rooster. The early morning greedy radio eats the governments, one by one, the languages, the poppy fields, one by one. Beyond the numbered band, a silence develops for every style, for the style I labored on. An external silence like the space between insects in a swarm, electric, unremembering, and it is aimed at us. I am sleepy and frightened. It makes toward me, brothers. Two went to sleep. Two went to sleep almost every night. One dreamed of mud, one dreamed of Asia, visiting a Zeppelin, visiting Nijinsky. Two went to sleep, one dreamed of ribs, one dreamed of senators. Two went to sleep, two travelers, the long marriage in the dark. The sleep was old, the travelers were old. One dreamed of oranges, one dreamed of Carthage. Two friends asleep, years locked in travel. Good night, my darling, as the dreams waved goodbye. One traveled lightly, one walked through water, visiting a chess game, visiting a booth, always returning to wait out the day. One carried matches, one climbed a beehive, one sold an earphone, one shot a German. Two went to sleep, every sleep went together, wandering away from an operating table. One dreamed of grass, one dreamed of spokes, one bargained nicely, one was a snowman, one counted medicine, one tasted pencils, one was a child, one was a traitor, visiting heavy industry, visiting the family. Two went to sleep, none could foretell. One went with baskets, one took a ledger, one night happy, one night in terror. Love could not bind them, fear could not either. They went unconnected, they never knew where, always returning to wait out the day, parting with kissing, parting with yawns, visiting death till they wore out their welcome, visiting death till the right disguise worked. Nothing has been broken, though one of the links of the chain is a blue butterfly. Here he was attacked. They smiled as they came and retired baffled with blue dust. The bank so familiar with metal they made for the wings, the thick vaults fluttered. The pretty girls advanced, their fingers cupped. They bled from the mouth as though struck. The jury asked for pity and touched and were electrocuted by the blue antennae. A thrust at any link might have brought him down, but each of you aimed at the blue butterfly. These heroics. If I had a shining head and people turned to stare at me in the streetcars, and I could stretch my body through the bright water and keep abreast of fish and water snakes, if I could ruin my feathers in flight before the sun, do you think that I would remain in this room, reciting poems to you and making outrageous dreams with the smallest movements of your mouth?
In the eyes of men he falls, and in his own eyes too. He falls from his high place, he trips on his achievement. He falls to you, he falls to know you. It is sad, they say. See his disgrace, say the ones at his heel. But he falls radiantly toward the light to which he falls. They cannot see who lifts him as he falls, or how his falling changes, and he himself bewildered, till his heart cries out to bless the one who holds him in his falling. And in his fall he hears his heart cry out. His heart explains why he is falling, why he had to fall, and he gives over to the fall. Blessed are you, clasp of the falling. He falls into the sky, he falls into the light. None can hurt him as he falls. Blessed are you, shield of the falling. Wrapped in his fall, concealed within his fall, he finds the place he is gathered in. While his hair streams back and his clothes tear in the wind, he is held up, comforted. He enters into the place of his fall. Blessed are you, embrace of the falling, foundation of the light, master of the human accident.
I saw you today. You were moving so fast. I had to relinquish my grip on the past. But I turn to you still like a man to his wife, though I'm held in the chains of my secret life. I smile when I'm angry. I cheat and I lie. I do what I have to do to get by. But I know what is wrong and I know what is right. I'm a monster of truth in my secret life.
I heard of a man who says words so beautifully that if he only speaks their name, women give themselves to him. If I am dumb beside your body while silence blossoms like tumors on our lips, it is because I hear a man climb the stairs and clear his throat outside our door. How to speak poetry. Take the word butterfly. To use this word, it is not necessary to make the voice weigh less than an ounce, or equip it with small dusty wings. It is not necessary to invent a sunny day or a field of daffodils. It is not necessary to be in love or to be in love with butterflies. The word butterfly is not a real butterfly. There is the word and there is the butterfly. If you confuse these two items, people have the right to laugh at you. Do not make so much of the word. Are you trying to suggest that you love butterflies more perfectly than anyone else or really understand their nature? The word butterfly is merely data. It is not an opportunity for you to hover, soar, befriend flowers, symbolize beauty and frailty, or in any way impersonate a butterfly. Do not act out words. Never act out words. Never try to leave the floor when you talk about flying. Never close your eyes and jerk your head to one side when you talk about death. Do not fix your burning eyes on me when you speak about love. If you want to impress me when you speak about love, put your hand in your pocket or under your dress and play with yourself. If ambition and the hunger for applause have driven you to speak about love, you should learn how to do it without disgracing yourself or the material. And so on until we come to speak the words with the exact precision with which you would check out a laundry list. Do not become emotional about the lace blouse. Do not get a hard-on when you say panties. Do not get all shivery just because of the towel. The sheets should not provoke a dreamy expression about the eyes. There is no need to weep into the handkerchief. The socks are not there to remind you of strange and distant voyages. It is just your laundry. It is just your clothes. Don't peep through them. Just wear them. The poem is nothing but information. It is the constitution of the inner country. If you declaim it and blow it up with noble intentions, then you are no better than the politicians whom you despise. You are just someone waving a flag and making the cheapest appeal to a kind of emotional patriotism. Think of the words as science, not as art. They are a report. You are speaking before a meeting of the Explorers Club of the National Geographic Society. These people know all the risks of mountain climbing. They honor you by taking this for granted. If you rub your faces in it, that is an insult to their hospitality. Tell them about the height of the mountain, the equipment you use. Be specific about the surfaces and the time it took to scale it. Do not work the audience for gasps and sighs. If you are worthy of gasps and sighs, it will not be from your appreciation of the event, but from theirs. It will be in the statistics, and not the trembling of the voice or the cutting of the air with your hands. It will be in the data and the quiet organization of your presence. Avoid the flourish. Do not be afraid to be weak. Do not be ashamed to be tired. You look good when you're tired. You look like you could go on forever. Now come into my arms. You are the image of my beauty. Marita, please find me. I am almost 30. This is my voice, but I am only whispering. The amazing vulgarity of your style invites men to think of torturing you to death, but I am only whispering. The ocean is whispering. The junkyard is whispering. We no longer wish to learn what you know how to do. There is no envy left. If you understood this, you would begin to shiver. But I am only whispering to my tomahawk, so that the image itself may reduce you to scorn and weaken you further. This is the only poem I can read. I am the only one can write it. I didn't kill myself when things went wrong. I didn't turn to drugs or teaching. I tried to sleep, but when I couldn't sleep, I learned to write. I learned to write what might be read on nights like this by one like me. We cry out for what we have lost, and we remember you again. We look for each other, we cannot find us, and we remember you. From the ground of no purpose, our children accuse us, and we remember, we recall a purpose. Could it be, we wonder, and here is death? Could it possibly be, and here is old age? And we never knew, we never stood up, and the good land was taken from us, and the sweet family was crushed. Maybe, we said, it could be, and we gave it a place among the possibilities. I'll do it myself, we said, as shame thickened the faculties of the heart. And the first reports were of failure, and the second of mutilations, and the third of every abomination. We remember, we cry out to you to return our soul. Is it really upon us? Yes, it is upon us. Do we merit this? Yes, we merit this. We cry out for what we have lost, and we remember you. We remember the containing word, the holy channels of commandment, and the goodness waiting forever on the path. And here and there, among the 70 tongues and the 100 darknesses, something shining, men of courage, strengthening themselves to kindle the lights of repentance. It's coming through a hole in the air from those nights in Tiananmen Square. It's coming from the feel that this ain't exactly real, or it's real but it ain't exactly there. From the wars against disorder, from the sirens night and day, from the fires of the homeless, from the ashes of the gay, democracy is coming to the USA. It's coming from the sorrow in the street, the holy places where the races meet, from the homicidal bitchin' that goes down in every kitchen to determine who will serve and who will eat. It's coming to America first, the cradle of the best and of the worst. It's here they got the range and the machinery of change, and it's here they got the spiritual thirst. It's here the family's broken, and it's here the lonely say that the heart has got to open in a fundamental way. Democracy is coming to the USA. I'm sentimental, if you know what I mean. I love the country, but I can't stand the scene. And I'm neither left or right. I'm just staying home tonight, getting lost in that hopeless little screen. And I'm stubborn as those garbage bags that time cannot decay. I'm junk, but I'm still holding up this little wild bouquet. Democracy is coming to the USA. Sail on, O mighty ship of state, to the shores of need, past the reefs of greed, through the squalls of hate. Sail on, sail on, sail on.
I do not know what bravado compelled me to come up here without my transistor radio. 3 months without my radio, humming the obsolete top 10. My top 10, removed so abruptly from history, cut off from the dynamic changes of jukebox stock market. My poor top 10 that no 13-year-olds energized by slippery necking on the carpet beside the hi-fi. My over-serious top 10, goose-stepping through my head like the generals of a junta who do not know the coup d'etat has been staged the very night of the formal ball. My dear old top 10, like a battalion of gold-sleeved tramway conductors patiently steering for seniority and retirement while the subway has been decreed in a boardroom and all the streetcars are in museums. My awkward top 10 of electric echoes and longing puberty voices crying down my heart like a squad of bare-thighed cheerleaderettes, turning cartwheels before the empty benches, their delicate bra straps bunching the skin ever so sweetly, their shiny fluorescent underwear flashing out of little upside-down pleated skirts as they pivot on their friendship fingers, their school spirit, satin-clad, gym-trained, firm little rah-rah bums describing unutterably lovely and brief rainbow-shaped streaks of mauve and orange, the round metal mouthpieces of their megaphones warm with alma maters and smelling of white lipstick, and for whom these moist technicolor acrobatics, for whom these inflammatory arcs of unskirted exhibition panties gleaming through the cheers like so many expertly peeled fresh figs, yes, a million seedy secrets in each sealed purse, wheeling down the damp sidelines into the stumpy mouth of time. For whom do you sail, little bums of the top 10? The leader of the pack lies mangled under his Honda in a wreck of job prospects. The ghostly Negro fullback floats down the wintry gridiron into law school prizes. And the lucky football you autograph takes pictures of the moon. Oh, my poor top 10, longing to perish in popularity. I have forgotten my radio, so you languish with the other zombies of my memory, you whose only honor is harakiri with the blunt edge of returned identification bracelets. My weary top 10, hoping to be forgotten, like escape balloons and kites, like theater stubs, like dry ball pens, like old batteries, like coiled sardine keys, like bent aluminum partitioned eaten TV dinner plates. I hoard you like the stuff of my chronic disease. I sentence you to national anthem hard labor. I deny you martyrdom in tomorrow's hit parade. I turn you into boomerangs, my little kamikazes. You long to be the lost tribes, but I burn arm numbers. I pour miracle drugs in the death house. From bridges, I hang suicide notes. Saints and friends, help me out of history. Make the birds sing slower. Make me listen faster. Remove yourself from this treehouse, pain, you tree-climbing frog, large as industry. Can I do this without explanations? Occasionally, I will have the occasion to invoke the name of Catherine Tikakwita, whose statue in bronze you can find on the front door, if I may use so prosaic a description of such a magnificent aperture, of St. Patrick's Cathedral. She was a Mohawk Indian who died in 1680, converted by the Jesuits to Catholicism, and distinguished herself by an enthusiastic and severe adherence to the more penitential side of the Catholic faith. She was the first Mohawk, which was an extremely promiscuous and enthusiastic tribe of dancers. She was the first Mohawk to take an oath of virginity. In the passages I read, there may be no reference to her at all. Although her presence does somehow inform all my work. And somehow, sometime, when I'm ready, I will place a bouquet of roses beneath those bronze doors, and when I am especially pure, I will be able to lay at her feet a pair of small, white transistor radios. These passages, which I'm about to read, take place in the System Theatre on St. Catherine Street in Montreal, which some of you may know. It is threatened by an office development, and I am the chairman of a committee which is called SOS, Save Our System. There, done. Dear friend, I did what was necessary. I did what I dreamed about when you, Edith, and I sat on the austere seats of the System Theatre. Do you know the question with which I tormented myself during those silvery hours? At last I can tell you. We are now in the heart of the System Theatre. We are in the dark, jockeying for elbow dominion on the wooden armrests. Outside on St. Catherine Street, the theater marquee displays the only neon failure in miles of light, dropping two letters which will never be repaired. It signals itself as STEM Theater, STEM Theater, STEM Theater. Secret cabals of vegetarians habitually gather under the sign to exchange contraband from beyond the vegetable barrier. In their pinpoint eyes dances their old dream, the total fast. One of them reports a new atrocity published without compassionate comment by the editors of Scientific American. It has been established that when pulled from the ground, a radish produces an electronic scream. Not even the triple bill for 65 cents will comfort them tonight. With a mad laugh born of despair, one of them throws himself on a hot dog stand, disintegrating on the first chew into pathetic withdrawal symptoms. The rest watch him mournfully and then separate into the Montreal entertainment section. The news is more serious than any of them thought. One is ravished by a steakhouse with sidewalk ventilation. In a restaurant, one argues with the waiter that he ordered tomato, but then, in a suicide of gallantry, he agrees to accept the spaghetti meat sauce mistake. But this is far away from the glass pillar of stubs, which the three of us passed and satisfied hours ago. Let us not forget that these doorway ticket depositories are not altogether docile. On more than several occasions, I have stood behind a customer whose stub the chute rejects absolutely, and he is forced to get his money back from the contemptuous female sentry booth. They are not pleasant to deal with, these women posted in the entrances of every cinema. They are bound by choice to guard St. Catherine Street against self-destruction. The little street-side offices which they dominate protect the army of traffic by an administration which combines the best functions of Red Cross and General Headquarters. And what of the unacceptable patron with his money back? Where can he go? Was the cruel rejection arbitrary in the sense that society invents crime so as to make itself indispensable? There is no dark for him to eat the O. Henry. All candy is threatened. Mere suicide vaudeville for the living? Or is there some ointment on the refusal of the toothed throat of the stub depository? Is this the kingly oil of election? Does some new hero discover his ordeal? Is this the birth of the hermit, or his equally passionate complement, the anti-hermit, seed of the Jesuit? And this chest-side choice between saint and missionary, is this his first tragic testing? No matter to Edith, you and I, who have safely passed 2 aisles and half an alphabet, well into the bright amusement. We are now in the heart of the last feature in the System Theater. Within severe limits, like smoke in a chimney, the dusty projection beam above our hair twisted and changed. Like crystals rioting in a test tube suspension, the unstable ray changed and changed in its black confinement. Like battalions of sabotage parachutists falling from the training tower straight down in various contortions, the frames streamed at the screen, splashing into contrast color as they hit, just as the bursting cocoons of Arctic camouflage spread colorful organic contents over the snow as the divers disintegrate one after the other. No, it was more like a ghostly white snake sealed in an immense telescope. It was a serpent swimming home, lazily occupying the entire sewer which irrigated the auditorium. It was the first snake in the shadows of the original garden, the albino orchard snake, offering our female memory the taste of everything. As it floated and danced and writhed in the gloom over us, I often raised my eyes to consult the projection beam rather than the story it carried. Neither of you noticed me. Sometimes I conceded surprising territories of the armrest so as to distract your pleasure. I studied the snake, and he made me greedy for everything. In the midst of this heady contemplation, I am invited to formulate the question which will torment me most. I formulate the question, and it begins to torment me immediately. What will happen when the newsreel escapes into the feature? What will happen when the newsreel occurs at its own pleasure or accident in any whatever frame of the VistaVision willy-nilly? The newsreel lies between the street and the feature like Boulder Dam, vital as a border in the Middle East. Breach it, so I thought, and a miasmal mixture will imperialize existence by means of its sole quality of total erosion. So I thought. The newsreel lies between the street and the feature. Like a tunnel on the Sunday drive, it ends quickly and in creepy darkness joins the rural mountains to the slums. It took courage. I let the newsreel escape. I invited it to walk right into the plot. And they merged in awful originality. Just as trees and plastic synthesize new powerful landscapes in those districts of the highway devoted to motels. Long live motels! The name, the motive, the success. Here is my message, old lover of my heart. Here is what I saw. Here is what I learned. Sophia Loren strips for a flood victim. The flood is real at last.